Good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday. What's up, Seth Isle? Good to see you, man. So it is a preface this, but it's a chaotic evening. I have to give a friend a ride home from work in about an hour. So I'm gonna keep this relatively brief, but I wanted to get on and listen. We do a Sunday night stream, so we're gonna do a Sunday night stream. We're gonna cover a question. I guess we're gonna pose a question as to what was Herman Lehman crazy? Did he go crazy, or was he just a guy trying to survive? I think it's a good question to ask. If you don't know who Herman Lehman was, he was one of many children who were taken on the frontier, especially the Texas frontier in the 1850s, really through the 1870s. It became an epidemic where these kids were being taken. Really, Herman was from around, let's say, the Texas Hill Country, like Central Texas, and he was taken captive by the Apache, and then he escaped the Apache and fled to the Comanche of all people, and became a vaunted, well, at least a respected warrior in the Comanche. And we're going to talk about his a little bit about his first raid, but really what happened after his first raid, when they found a party of Tonkawa who were they had been fighting in the area. And this is really Herman's first foray into dealing with intertribal warfare and the Tonkawa specifically. And he talks about the Tonkawa's propensity for cannibalism and what the Comanche did to them when they found the Tonkawa eating one of their warriors. It's a horrifying story. It's a story that we talked about on our last live stream, actually. And I thought, like, well, this would be a good one to cover in what I intend to be an ongoing series on Herman Lehman, and kind of, from a layperson's standpoint, examining the psychology of this man. And he was a teenager when this happened, but it's a question of really nature versus nurture. Was this guy crazy at all? Did he go fully native, for lack of a better term? Uh, it's a confounding psychological question to pose, and it's a crazy story. His whole life is just fascinating. He's a fascinating guy, and an amazing bridge between the Old West and the time that likely your grandparents were alive, like 20s and 30s. This guy was opening the local rodeo in Blanco, Texas, I believe, in Central Texas, by letting loose a calf in the arena and then riding out and shooting the calf to demonstrate how the Comanche would conduct a buffalo hunt, and then like gutting the calf. I guess I don't know if I could say this in the first, but like, yeah, just butchering the calf afterwards and like doing it in the middle of the arena. And I've always said, like, listen, if I had like no beers in me, I'd be like, I don't know, man. Like, this is maybe and like I'm staunchly anti-animal cruelty. I'm in fact from a rodeo family, and I can tell you how rodeo is absolutely not animal cruelty, and would fight on that hill to the day that I die from an educated opinion on that. But this in particular is like, I mean, like, let's not, bow hunt a calf in the middle of the arena. However, with two beers in me, I'd be like, oh, this is dope. Let's go watch this. Like, come on. Like, there's nothing else going on. It's the 1930s. Come on, let's go check it out. But yeah, regardless, Herman's just a fascinating guy. It's a fascinating book. We're going to be taking excerpts from 9 Years Among the Indians, the history of the captivity and life of a Texan among the Indians, which is Herman Lehman's firsthand account. And he talks a little bit about his thoughts on things, kind of how he felt about this or that, but a lot of it is just a firsthand account. And keep in mind that it does not behoove him to exaggerate very much on these things. Like, it's going to make him look worse the more that he divulges, because this is an account given to a 20th century audience who certainly wants to hear the truth about the frontier, wants, accurate recollections about the generation that just preceded them, but doesn't want to hear about the actual blood and guts, literally and figuratively, of the story. They don't really want to see how the sausage is made. So it doesn't. He's trying to reintegrate himself back into American society. It doesn't behoove him a lot to talk about the terrible things that these guys did. We're talking about they go on raids and they unalive everybody. Like, he just talks about it chapter to chapter. Like, oh, we went on a raid and we unalived this entire family. We found this, group of Mexican sheep herders, unalived all them. We found the Tonkawa, we unalived all them. We're going to talk about the story that unfolds here. There's not a lot of introspection. It's more just kind of recollection. But let me share the purchase link here. I don't make any money off of these purchase links. I just can't recommend this book enough. It's another one where you can just read one chapter at a time, and it's going to be wildly entertaining. It's going to be a little unsettling, but that's how all good books are. And I think the Kindle price is like $1, so it's generally affordable. I can't find the link, so I'm just going to post this. I'm going to link this at the top of the chat. Oh, this is being a bit of a pest. Well, I'll link the title at the top of the chat. This is kind of derailing me a little bit here. 9 Years Among the Indians. Let me know in the chat too if you've heard of Herman Lehman before. I bet a lot of people have. What's up, Josh McAllister? I know you've heard of Herman Lehman before. Bam, Deanna, good to see you. Missed you on the last one. Theo Wise, what's up, dude? Got a lot of the regulars here. So if you're just coming in here, relatively short one tonight. Got to go do some stuff after this. Got to go pick my buddy up. Only ever seen your videos on him. Yeah, really, oh, man. One of the first 10 videos I did was on Herman Lehman and on this specific story. And I'm going to have to moderate a lot of this stuff because he just gets into it. He just point of fact tells what they did to these Tonkawa. And it's horrific. It's some Apocalypse Now stuff. And all of this stuff would make such a good movie. I don't know. It would have to be R-rated. But if you gave these stories the apocalypto treatment, right? If you just showed them at their most visceral and intense, you would, just have a gripping movie that really, I think, would get people into the Old West because they just don't understand how intense this stuff was. So let's preface this a little bit with Herman's life up till this point. He was basically a Central Texas farm boy, which means he was born in, I believe, the late 1860s. So that means your life is basically chores. It's just all work all day long. Rarely do any of these kids go to school. They are living in a very dangerous territory and facing a very dangerous life, a very arduous life, a life, agriculture that requires tons of work. Everything has to be done by hand. There's no tractors. All the plowing, tilling, planting, harvesting, everything has to be done by hand. And this requires the employment without the utilization of every child that's born as a farmhand. I've heard a lot of talk about that's why they had such large families. That's really half true. You could use a lot of kids, but a lot of times, especially the Germans would have a lot of kids because they had Catholic beliefs. So and there was far less in the way of birth control back then. So infant mortality rates were massive compared to today, sometimes 50%. So a lot of these kids didn't survive. So just to contextualize that, a lot of the kids, that said, the kids were still used as a labor force. So, he's facing a life of drudgery and very regimented, hard labor, even as a kid. Him and his brother Willie are kidnapped in 1870. So Herman's about 12 years old. Willie is about 8 years old. They're kidnapped by the Apache, who are actually well east. They're quite a ways east for the 1870s. They're in a raiding party, and going to where basically Fredericksburg is today is a long ways out of their normal range at this point. But they're out there, right? And they pick up Willie and Herman. They take them due northwest. They're going to go out to the plains. Willie ends up falling off the horse and escaping. Herman is taken into the Apache, but he's treated really roughly for a long time. And a lot of the crazy stuff that he sees really blows his mind, and I think kind of traumatizes him from the get-go. He sees the way that they hunt is they go find these baby antelope that they hear the antelope, yeah, or whatever. They hear them yelping. The Apache go and grab these two baby antelope. They put them in a leather sack. And then that night at camp, a couple hours later, right, they light a fire and they just toss the baby antelope onto the fire. And they're like, oh, check this out, bro. And the baby antelope, right? It's terrible, but that's what's going on. They say like, oh, check this out, man. Like, wait a couple minutes. They wait a couple minutes. The baby antelope are going, full horror movie. And then the baby antelope's parents come, obviously, to see like what's going on. The Apache shoot them and cook them. And they're just like, pretty cool, right? And Herman's just like, whoa, this is pretty crazy. And this proceeds for months. Like, he never really gets fully adopted. His adopted father, so to speak, is just like really rough on him. It's how they treat the other Apache boys of that age, but he's not digging life with the Apache. And eventually he escapes and he's just wandering around on the plains. And who does he run into? The Comanche. Of like, man, that's out of the fryer and into the frying pan. But he's like, well, this is better than where I was. So he becomes part of the Comanche. And we talked about this last live stream, how the Comanche were very culturally porous, let's say. They were very open to adopting, especially young men, because they were short on warriors perpetually. They had a very low birth rate. A lot of horse-bound cultures have very low birth rates because of very high miscarriages. And then they lost a lot of their guys in not only battle, but hunting. Buffalo hunts were terribly dangerous. So the Comanche were a very small tribe. Maybe we talked about this last time. At their peak, maybe 50,000. Really, in the 1870s, a couple dozen thousand. They have been terribly compromised by not only warfare, but disease. So they are hurting for people. So they end up adopting Herman in. At this point, before this story, he's pretty new. He's still being treated pretty roughly. He's about 14 years old. And he has just completed his first Comanche raid. We'll talk a little bit about that. But after this raid, they're kind of licking their wounds. They've lost a couple of warriors on Herman's first raid. He's kind of gotten a taste for what that's like. And then a couple of days later, it sounds like he talks in kind of vague dates. They're kind of, getting over the first raid. They've lost a couple of warriors. The village is mourning, but it wasn't a bad raid. So they're just kind of resting up for a second. Then some riders come in. This group of 6 warriors had left the village. 3 of them come back and say, oh, the Tonkawa unalived the other 3 guys. And we know where they are. We got to go back and, even things out. So the Comanche go back. The Tonkawa see them coming and they leave their little camp, but they leave what they're roasting above the fire. And the Comanche come and they find this Comanche leg. And it sounds like they know the guy. They're like, oh, that's like, that's Jim's leg. And they're like, what? Jim's my boy. And they're like, well, we got to go get revenge for Jim, right? The Comanche are, you'll see noted in this story, they are super pissed. They are like, yeah, generally, are they pissed off? Yes, for sure. They're not super chill. But this time they're really pissed off and they want big time revenge on the Tonkawa. Another thing to keep in mind as I'm reading this story, Herman refers to them as the Tonka way. You'll see all kinds of different iterations, phonetic spellings in 19th century writings about the Tawakoni, the Karankawa. They're all spelled, the Comanche are even spelled differently. So keep in mind, like he likely said Tonka way, but we're talking about the Tonkawa. I'm just going to read it with his own words. But this is, if you have any kids, like, listen, it's going to be YouTube friendly, but it might not be, it's like PG-13, let's say, right? So if you have any under 13-year-olds, might want to like earmuff them. Let me check the chat real quick before we jump into it. What's up, Jake Skywalker? We got Bama Deanna's in the chat. We got Josh McAllister. We got a bunch of the regulars here. All right. So I'm going to check the chat I'll check the whole conversation when I get done here so I don't get too terribly sidetracked. I got a little of the touch of the millennial ADHD. So I'm going to start actually on chapter 29, the very, very end of it. We'll talk about the very completion, kind of where the Comanche are before they find the Tonkawa. And then we're going to jump into chapter 30. So after the first raid, quoting from the book, late the next day, we came inside of a camp near a hole of water. So we went away and our spies made an investigation and reported that only a few men were there with good horses. And we decided to get those horses too. So he's talking about they've stolen horses on the raid the day before. So after dark, We sent one of the warriors with the horses we already had, and we remained there to see what we could do. We rode up to the horses and found 3 men guarding them. When we fired on them, they took to their heels, meaning they run away, while the horses stampeded. Just at this time, the horses, this is a tough one. Just at this time, the soldiers in camp opened fire, and it seemed that there must have been several hundred of them, so way more soldiers than they thought there would be. We fired a few shots into the camp and then ran around to the horses and started them running in the direction that we wanted them to go. So they're starting to stampede the horses. We succeeded in getting about 49 ponies, fresh and rested. So we turned around our tired mounts and and drove the herd. This is a tough one. So we turned around our tired mounts into the herd and we rode new ones, meaning they switched off horses. They jumped off their tired horses that they had been raiding with, jumped on some new fresh horses. There had been so much shooting and yelling that the Indian who guarded our horses hurt. This is a tough one, guys. There had been so much shooting and yelling that the Indian who guarded our horse herd thought he was followed and rode off and left us. So their boy just bailed on him. You know what I mean? Thanks a lot. We came in sight of him and we spurred on our fresh horses, but he hurried on, keeping a respectful distance ahead. We raced with him for many miles before he discovered that we were not soldiers, but he had not lost a horse, meaning he'd bailed, but he hadn't lost any of the horses that he was supposed to keep track of. We put the herds together and the way these guys word this is sometimes tough, but that's why I'm here to contextualize it a little bit. We put the herds together, meaning what they'd stolen and what they already had, merged them, one herd now. And we 12 had nearly 100 good horses, and our enemies were practically afoot. So meaning only 12 Comanches. Now we got 100 horses. It's a pretty good haul. They're doing good. It's a bull market. Things are turning up. In 3 or 4 days, we overtook the squaws and children with the camp equipage, and as soon as they learned that several of the warriors with our party had been killed, they set up a wailing and began gashing themselves with knives. We lost 3 braves on this raid, and when we got back to the tribe, we had no war dance. So there's a lot going on here. They had left with 15 braves on their first raid, right? This is Herman's first taste of it. He's kind of expecting okay, if we succeed, we're going to come back and have a big party. It's going to be cool. Everyone's going to be happy. Everyone's going to be digging it. Now he comes back. 3 of their guys have been killed. They got a bunch of horses. It's not a wash, right? But they've lost 3 of their warriors. You take off with 15, really you've lost 20% of your guys. It's a high casualty rate. He comes back and everyone's mourning and wailing. He's seen a little of this in the Apache, but this is his first time really seeing the Comanche mourning rituals, which are in themselves horrifying. The women, what can we say here, self-harm to such a degree that sometimes they pass away. They are really, carving themselves up here. They cut their hair off, which is a huge thing in the Comanche for either women or men, more so for men, really. But the women cut their hair off, so they got these weird mid-90s bobs going on. It's not a great look, but it's a sign of mourning. It's just a horror scene, right? Wails and moans. It's just it's unsettling. So Herman's seeing this and he's man, this is not what I expected. But then in the next couple of days, we'll see these guys go out and they find the Tonkawa. Okay, here we go. So Herman's just kind of dipping his toe into warfare, and now he's going to jump right into the deep end. This is chapter 30, Cannibalism of the Tonkaways. Quote, "We knew we could not remain there for long," talking about where they had come to camp at. "For the whites would hunt us down, and we believed that for every one we killed, 7 would come to take his place. So we expected the soldiers to be reinforced and to follow us. We sent out scouts to find other bands of Comanche and asked them to come and to join us as we moved toward the Mexican border. About 75 warriors came to us. We were in no particular hurry, for we reasoned the soldiers would have to send to the fort to get reinforcements and mounts, so we killed buffalo and traveled leisurely along, occasionally killing a buffalo hunter." So you can see, okay, they need to get out of Dodge, but they're we don't really care. We know the soldiers are going to come now, but whatever. We're just kind of traveling along. And he says, like, yeah, we killed some buffalo and we killed a buffalo hunter or two. Like, they're basically one and the same. Like, they're just, yeah, sometimes we hunt people, sometimes we hunt buffalo. Yeah, no, it's just another Sunday. Like, he mentions a lot of this stuff just kind of offhand, and it's a little unsettling. And I'm not judging the guy, okay? And no judgment, little judgment, but it's we're just kind of looking at this descent into a detachment and a callousness from violence. It's like, well, bro, what happened to you, man? Like, it's pretty wild. One day, 3 warriors came rushing into camp. So, all right, another thing, like this sounds several days after they've returned from the initial raid, right? One day, 3 warriors came rushing into camp, almost exhausted, and told us that they had, excuse me, and told us that they had, with 3 other warriors, been surrounded and overpowered by 30 Tonkaways, who were well armed and equipped, and in the fight that 3 had managed to escape to bring us word of the attack. We had more than 3 times that number, so we mounted and rode out to meet them. After riding about 3 hours, we located them having a feast. So, a group of 6 head out. The Tonkawa ambush them. This is like a golden opportunity now. Like, everyone is licking their chops because they're like, man, you guys attacked our boy. We know where you're at. We are going to settle up right now. Okay. Like, everyone is like, this is going to be a turkey shoot. The Comanche and the Tonkaways had been at war a long time, and the Tonkaways had been nearly exterminated. Absolutely true. The hatred the Tonkaway had for the Comanche was fierce, for they blamed the Comanche for all of their misfortunes and eventually made a treaty with the whites and combined with them to exterminate the Comanche, acting as scouts and trailers for the war. Acting as scouts and trailers and as warriors for the whites. Absolutely true. We've talked about this several times. The Tonkawa were more than happy to be scouts for the Rangers and for the U.S. Army. They're really the whole reason that Colonel Mackenzie was able to find Quanah at Palo Duro. Like, they would have, that's a just giant naze. It's second only to the Grand Canyon. They were not going to find the Comanche without the Tonkawa scouts. Continuing on here. We found those Tonkaways in camp, and our chief gave a war whoop, and we all joined in one continual yell as we charged at the camp. So a lot of these details sometimes, in my mind, get a little, they're so understated that sometimes you just kind of pass them over and reading it, and it's like, well, no, just that one thing. Imagine a Comanche war party with about 50 people, right? And the chief lets out this one war whoop, and then all 50 guys just start screaming their brains out as they make a charge. Like, that is, in and of itself, a crazy thing to think about. Continuing on here. They fled at the onslaught, and several of the Tonkawa were killed. We took possession of the camp. And what do you suppose we found on that fire roasting? One of the legs of a Comanche, a warrior of our tribe. Our chief gave the cry for vengeance, and we all joined in the chorus. So here it goes again. Like, they were pissed off the first time before they rode into camp. Now they are extra PO'd, right? Like, they find, imagine that it goes to 11 here. The scream was at a 10 before. Now Spinal Tap, we're taking it up to 11. Everyone's just losing their mind in this, overtaken Tonkawa camp. Continuing on here. We immediately gave chase. No martial music fascinated our little band and urged us to victory, but one look at those stern faces and drawn muscles would have shown that they meant to utterly annihilate their enemy. This is another thing that kind of made me think, all right, and especially in 19th century warfare, you're used to a bugler, right? You're used to drummers, at least the American mind is. These guys are riding pretty much in silence to go unalive a bunch of people. There's maybe some war whoops. You'll hear the horses riding, but imagine you're going to go unalive a bunch of Tonkawas, and he's like kind of thinking in his head, like, you'd think there'd be some music or something right now, and it's just silence. It is like a mafia mission. It is dark. Okay, continuing on. The Tonkaways had collected in a ravine and were prepared to receive our charge with a deadly fire, which for a moment checked our onrush. Down would come a horse. Over would tumble the rider, but on and on we came in our frenzy. At first I was terrified, and it seemed like I could not face death that way. But I was in the front rank and my comrades in the rear pressed me onward. Another thing where it's like, he's a 14-year-old, maybe 15 years old, and they're putting him at the front line, which is basically cannon fire. Like the Tonkawa are putting up a way more stiff resistance than they anticipated. And they're like, all right, kid, get to the front of the line. And he's terrified, but he has no way out. They're stuck in this little tiny canyon. A ravine is just like a little tiny canyon. And they put Herman and a couple other effectively kids at the front, and they just push him forward by riding behind him. Okay, continuing on here. Then I caught the spirit of vengeance. I became enraged, spurred on my steed, and fought courageously. One of the Tonkaways rode out of the ravine to challenge a single combat, this is crazy. This is like the opening scene of Troy. This is like, this really happened, and it wasn't that long ago. It was 100 maybe 50 years ago. They ride out like a knight, and they're going to have a one-on-one fight. They're like, come on, dude, like, you want some? Come get some. A Comanche made a dash at him, but fell mortally wounded. So like they're kind of getting knocked around a little bit at this point. The Comanche thought they were just going to come take their vengeance, and the Tonkaways are like, hold on a second, we got something for you. Continues on. Another went and received a death blow. So that's two Comanches down again. They're getting the 1-2 combo. This is not great. It's not great. It seemed like human blood had made the Tonkawa bold. Okay, this part, I want to maybe remove the continual grain of salt that we take these stories with for just a second. Because imagine if this is true. Okay, I'm not saying that it is, but for a second, imagine that this is true. Because you hear this a lot, that when people eat people, they go a little crazy. They get like a high off of it, and they become different from then on out, right? This is what the Wendigo is about. The Wendigo is like a Northeastern tribe deterrent against cannibalism in a lot of ways, saying that like if you eat people, which was a real temptation when starvation set in, that you'd become the Wendigo, maybe literally, maybe kind of spiritually, but you'd never recover from that. You'd always crave human, and so you do kind of wonder if this is real. Maybe the Tonkawa are on this like crazy high from having just consumed people. Like it's in other accounts. Like there is historical precedent for this. So at least take what I'm about to say with at least hold a spot in your mind for some imagination that the Tonkawa really are like all hopped up on Comanche meat. Okay. It seemed like human blood had made the Tonkawa bold, and somehow our shields would not ward off their bullets. But the third warrior to advance got the Tonkawa. He says got him. He got the Tonkawa that's shooting all the Comanche, okay? At this single combat, by seemingly general consent, a cessation took place, and at this recess, every warrior loaded his gun and prepared for the eventualities, meaning like they're getting ready to fight, right? The combat between the two warriors was but short The combat between the two warriors was, this is a tough one. The combat between the two warriors was of short duration, and when the Tonkawa brave fell, he went up. This is such a tough sentence. The combat between the two warriors was of but short duration, and when the Tonkawa brave fell, there went up a yell from both sides, exultant from us, a yell of rage from the Tonkawa, and in a very few seconds, we were in a hand-to-hand conflict with the Tonkaways, and they were soon vanquished. So this, I like to think of like, okay, imagine the first scene of Gangs of New York. You have this gang fight over, like you have the gang over here, you have the natives and the Irish over here, and like the two big guys, Daniel Day-Lewis and who am I thinking of here? Liam Neeson walk out first, and they like have a showdown. They start fighting, and then the whole thing breaks out. That's what happened. That's what happened in this little tiny ravine somewhere in Texas between the Tonkawa and the Comanche, except imagine that right before that, the Irish had caught the natives like eating an Irishman. So it's even cranked up a little bit more. This is nuts. Okay, continuing on here. Those cannibals, okay, he gives them like he's gonna give them a little bit of praise here, but still a little bit of a dig. Those cannibals fought bravely, and 8 of our men lay dying on the battlefield, while 40 or 50 were more or less desperately wounded. but our work was not finished. So the Tonkawa, look, they've been vanquished, but they put a hurting. This is also, they said we outnumbered them by what, 4-1? So it's a very small number of Tonkawa and a pretty large party of the Comanche. And the Comanche, like, kind of took a little bit of a whipping from the Tonkawa here. But eventually they won, okay? Continuing on here. A great many of the dying enemy were gasping for water, but we heeded not their pleadings. We scalped them and amputated their arms, amputated their legs, amputated their tongues, and threw their mangled bodies and limbs upon their own campfire, put on more brushwood, and piled the living, dying, and dead Tonkawas on the fire. Some of them were able to flinch and work as a worm, and some were able to speak and plead for mercy. We piled them up, put on more wood, and danced around in great glee as we saw the grease and blood from them, and we delighted to see them swell up and hear the hide pop as it would burst in the fire. So basically, imagine like just putting a hot dog on the fire and just waiting for it to, and they're dancing around. Imagine it's like a human hot dog, and you're waiting for it to pop, and you're also like dancing around to like whatever jive talking from the Bee Gees, right? Like you're having a good old time. A Love Shack from B-52. You're just like, yeah, having a good time, waiting for like the human people to pop, right? It's wild. It's crazy. Okay, continuing on here. Some of the enemy may have escaped, but we never saw any signs of them. We had 28 scalps, 35 split-eared horses, 30 long-range guns, some saddles, a number of blankets, many bows and arrows, besides a great quantity of ammunition and other trophies as a reward for our vengeance, which in some respects partly satisfied our bloodthirsty band. I mean, like, yeah, it better, dog. Like, you kind of got whooped a little bit. Like, we get it. You threw them on the fire, but you kind of took some hits, right? The whole village expected you to come back with 0 casualties, and you lost a bunch of dudes and got a bunch more wounded. However, yes, you can have the Tonkawa barbecue. We get it. You got to take your wins where they come. Okay, continuing on here. The reason so many of them, we're going to see a little bit of like excuse making. This is some like post-game press conference stuff, but the reason so many of our men were killed and wounded was because the Tonkaways held the advantage of position and the advantage of equipment. And our men were so enraged at the sight of our roasted companion that we became reckless and did not use our shields properly. I had 4 spikes and 1 lead mark on my shield. If a bullet is in motion when a ball strikes it, the bullet will glance every time, which means like it's just saying like if a bullet is hit midair, the bullet will glance off the ball, will glance off the other bullet. It's a very sloppy way of saying that, but that's what he's saying. We returned to the camp with our wounded and our dead, and also our scalps and other booty. Pause. There we found a sad spectacle. Such weeping, moaning, wailing, hair pulling, and gash cutting. Those squaws cut gashes in their faces and on their bodies and limbs, which took months to heal. So, and this is right after the mourning ceremonies that happened, maybe a week, 2 weeks earlier. Besides, those squaws kept the places raw and their wounds irritated in order to make their fancied reward greater in the hereafter. So, like, something that I've wondered if they like picked this up a little bit off the Catholic incursion that they'd been, dealing with for a century or two. It's a very like Opus Dei kind of practice, a very like penitential practice that you're hoping will gain you some kind of favor in the afterlife. It's because the Comanche didn't have a lot of inborn theology. They seem to like look around and adapt this from this tribe, adapt that from another, adopt this from another tribe. So this seems like something they may have adopted, but we'll have to look further into that. Quoting here, there is nothing pleasant nor amusing about a funeral dance, such as we have. This is a tough one, but we're almost done. There is nothing pleasant nor amusing about a funeral. Okay, one more time. There is nothing pleasant nor amusing about a funeral dance, such as we had when we came back after that fight with the Tonkaways. I guess this is where it gets a little confusing. Sometimes these stories are a little disconnected, but I think he's talking about the dance right after they had roasted a bunch of the Tonkaways, because there was no dance after his first raid. I've had a little trouble connecting that as well. So if you're having trouble connecting that, you're not the only one. But I don't have anything to bridge that gap. All I can take from that is that he's talking about actually the campfire with the Tonkawa. Okay, continuing on here, finishing up. It was 3 months before all of our wounded were recovered and we could go on another raid. We drifted north, and another band who had just run away from Fort Sill joined us. And this is a lot of the Comanche are at this time, mid to late 70s, are coming into the reservation, leaving the reservation, coming into the reservation, leaving the reservation. It was a back and forth process for a long time. Okay, continuing on here. And others came from different quarters until we became about 300 strong, which at this time, because the Comanche are dwindling so much in numbers, is a significant number of Comanche. We hunted for a while, replenished our stock of buffalo robes, moccasins, wigwams, and other necessities. The women did all of the work, which, yes, that's true. Anything except for warfare and the actual hunting, pretty much women did it. It was a pretty bleak existence. Except for making bows, arrows, tomahawks, and pipes. We robbed several buffalo hunters' camps, leaving the owners destitute and afoot out there on the plains, hundreds of miles from home, to die of thirst and starvation. And that is that one horrible thing. Imagine you did that, like how much that would stick with you. We took this guy's horses and we left him to die in the middle of nowhere. Pretty crazy. It's just the last sentence in this chapter to him. It's nothing. And they just move on. That's the end of chapter 30. We left a bunch of guys to die, took their horses, on to the next thing. So it is a wild read. I'm not making any judgments or assessments or anything. I'm just saying, like, how crazy is that? This, I think people read it as a historical account, and you can read it in kind of a dry internal manner, and you just kind of are taking in these events as they come and constructing an overall larger picture. But when you break them down piece by piece, what this guy is saying is insane. Like, it's just a litany of, oh man, trying to find, appropriate adjectives for it. Just terrifying instances that would like scar anybody. And it's just thing after thing after thing. And you could tell in his account there, he's going like, I was terrified and they pushed me to the front. There was a lot of care for developing Comanche children, right? But once the young men came of age, it was pretty harsh. Like, they were just going to be thrown into the fire and taught to be a warrior. And that's Herman's being adopted into the tribe. He's being treated as any other young warrior. But the things this kid saw and went through and did, and then returned, like he lived in the same world as your grandparents or great grandparents did. He was alive for radio. He was alive for the First World War. He was alive for television, for movies. He was, for flight. He saw not only the Wright brothers flight, or he wasn't around only for the invention of aviation. He was around to see transatlantic flights. Like, it was just, he's an amazing bridge between the Old West and modernity in a lot of ways. And it's just a fascinating read. Can't recommend it enough. The title is linked at the top there. And I just thought that would be something worth diving into, so we can shape. We'll do more episodes on Herman, and it kind of helps to go line by line and contextualize everything, and maybe share how I contextualize it with you guys. Because to me, that reads as an absolute crazy. If I look at that as like Platoon, the movie, like shot like Platoon, but in the Old West, it's like, this is nuts. He's like Charlie Sheen being brought into the base, and they're like, this is how we do things here. And they're like smoking joints out of a rifle and whatever else they do. And he's just like, what? It takes him a while to settle in. But Herman does eventually settle in quite well. And a lot of times he talks about like, man, I got to tell you guys, I had a great time. A lot of these farm kids that got abducted, they would never see a level of autonomy, social mobility as they would with the Comanche. A lot of them did not want to come back at all, because if you look at it from their point of view, like, yes, did they eventually feel an affection for their captors and like find their culture enticing? Yeah, for sure. But they also didn't want to go back to a farm where they were just going to work their whole lives at one income level, and they were going to be nothing but a farmer for their entire lives, and that's it. at least with the Comanche, they can do what they want when they want, and they can work their way up to being a chief. Like it's possible. You can. Quanah did it. Like lots of people did it. You just weren't going to see that level of freedom and opportunity in American society at the time, especially not on the bleeding edge of the frontier. So it's another like really interesting aspect of the Old West and captives is that so many of them, from what I've read, from the accounts I've read, the majority seem not too terribly enthused with coming back. You can look at Cynthia Ann Parker, certainly a tragic story. Olive Oatman wasn't terrible. Like she had some trouble readjusting. Adolf Korn may be the biggest, the most prominent example of that. He was forced to come back. He's a Comanche captive and then just lived in a cave basically till he passed away. I think like in his early 40s. He was much younger than I first realized when he passed away. Just could not fit into society. A lot of these guys just had, when they did come back, had real trouble adjusting. Tragedy stories certainly, but also invaluable in that their accounts help us bridge what we think life was like for the tribes on the plains, for the Comanche, the Kiowa, etc., and what it was really like. So I think these are just great books. Obviously, yes, take them with a grain of salt or two, but highly recommend picking this one up. It is one of my favorites. Okay, I'm going to check out the super chats now. I see a bar here. Mojo bought a member for 5 months. Man, thank you so much, man. Bless ups, HOKC and chat OGs. Please hit the like button. Yes, please hit the like button. That really helps get the stream out there. And become a member. This is going to be a members only stream. You get early access to all the episodes. Trying to offer more and more. So I will make this worth everyone's money, and it really helps support the channel. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate that. Hail Mojo, absolutely. Indian Wildcat, what's up, man? Today, if you bring up cannibalism to the Tonkawas, they get offended. Yeah, I'm not doing, you know what I mean? I'm not going to walk into a Tonkawa bar and start talking about cannibalism. But I think Mike Judge snuck this into an episode of King of the Hill where Bobby does a presentation for Thanksgiving about, stolen lands, which is a good conversation to have, and restorative actions that the United States might take with the tribes. His point is well taken, okay? But he starts presenting on John Redcorn's tribe and says that they were cannibals, and John Redcorn does not deny that, but says that that was a long time ago. So I don't know. He's very tall, so it's always made me think that he was a Karankawa, but he could be Tonkawa. I don't know. That's been a trivia point that's stuck in my mind forever. If you're a King of the Hill fan, let me know what tribe you think John Redcorn is from. I got about another 20 minutes, guys, and then I got to head on out. But I'll be back tomorrow. You're saying the Comanche war cry was like the rebel yell? Yeah, that's a great analogy. If you've never heard the rebel yell, it's like, yeah, different iterations of that, but very loud. Settlers talked like that too. Great point, Jake Skywalker. Thank you. That's a great point. Because I didn't mean to paint a one-sided picture there. Yes, if you look at old accounts of settlers, they talk about it the same way. It's not like the settlers viewed the natives. I'm not trying to talk as a monolith here, but generally, yes, settlers didn't view natives any better than Herman is talking about dealing with his enemies. They would say, "Oh, I shot 2 bears and 2 bucks and 2 Tonkawa," right, or whatever. Like they would often refer to Indian warriors, as native warriors, as bucks. Like it was pretty rough stuff. They didn't humanize their enemy any more than did most of the native tribes. Let's see. Great point though, man. Thank you. Our museum claims the Tonkawa didn't engage. Okay, yeah. This is I am not stating as a layperson here or someone without solidified knowledge of the Tonkawa tribe. I'm not stating that like, oh, they were Tonkawas, or excuse me, I can state that, but I'm not stating that they were cannibals. This is Hermann Lehman's account, but I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of smoke for there to be no fire. Excuse the pun. Our museum claims the Tonkawa didn't engage in cannibalism for sustenance like a main food source. I don't think anyone is claiming that, but they definitely ate people from time to time. Yes, I'd agree with that. Like, yes, they did. Come on. Let's see. Like if you hear like 50, if you hear 50 people, if you even hear like 5 people say like, "Oh, hey, John over there, he's a cannibal," you're gonna be like, "Is John a cannibal?" That's a lot of people saying he's a cannibal. The Tonkawa were also well known to challenge enemies to man-to-man combat. Thanks, Josh. As it was one of their customs. Same for the Comanche. If their leader was hit, the fight was over. Yeah, you see a lot of accounts of that. The chief goes down, and basically it sounds like the chief's puha. That's their term for medicine. The chief's medicine has been compromised, thus the raid or the battle has been compromised. If the chief goes down, the medicine has been compromised. We got to bail. Let's see. The Wendigo is terrifying. Yeah, the Wendigo is pretty terrifying. I had my first pork chop in months tonight. Far too few have ever seasoned their food with hunger. Yeah, I'm not trying to ruin your pork chop, but a lot of people make the point that pork is the most like human-like of meats. So hope you enjoyed. That's how we invented mad cow disease. What's up, Surrender Monkey? I know, yeah, you in the UK have had some trouble with mad cow disease. It's from cows eating cows. Yes, it is, absolutely. Cows being fed cows, 100%. Today, okay, we got that. We got a lot of chats in here. So if I didn't get to your chat, put it, and you really want me to see it, put it back in the bottom now, or super chat. Those pop up. It was because they didn't have birth control. I said that too, Bamadiana. I said that. But also, I think like the biggest thing was the infant mortality rate. It was like, man, half of these kids are going to not make it. So you got to have a lot. It's always so sad to go to older cemeteries. It's like you see so many very, very young headstones or headstones for very, very young people. You are making my heart hurt. I know, yeah. Herman saw his family, and there's a chapter where Herman talks about going on a raid, and they basically just go back to his neighborhood. Like literally, he can see his old house, and he's just like, I think he goes up to his old house and sees his family, and it's kind of like a horrifying version of very violent Christmas Story, where like he's taken back to his family, and he gets to go see his family, except instead of like changing his life, or instead of like becoming more charitable, he's like, well, back to killing, and again, I'm just like, look, it's a super interesting story, and I'm not judging Herman. I'm really not, because I mean, what a horrible situation to be put in. But it's just like, I don't know. I think examining that account just line by line is such a fascinating insight to like what it was like for him, the way that he contextualized it at the time, the way he's contextualizing, the way he's thinking about it when he's recounting it. It's just, I don't know. He's just a very interesting, compelling guy. Let's see. I can't get me no girly action. Yeah, man. When I'm riding down the street and the man comes on the radio, starts telling me more and more about how white my shirt could be. Gashes, cutting gashes. Yeah, no, I can't even really talk. It's so bad that I really can't even talk about it on YouTube. You can just imagine, it's very severe. Their mourning practices were so severe that it wasn't common that people would pass away, but it happened. Let's see. Oh, yeah, good point here. Thanks, Josh McAllister, because I didn't really cover what a split-eared horse was. Plains Indians, this is Josh McAllister. Plains Indians split or notched the ears of their horses Plains Indians split or notched the ears of their buffalo and war ponies, meaning the ponies that they used to hunt and to wage war on, so that they were easily recognized at any time. If a horse was fast, then its ears got split notched or clipped or such. Yeah, it's like like branding in a way, kind of. But yeah, they weren't like born with split ears. Yes. Is this from the Empire of the Summer Moon? It is absolutely in the Empire of the Summer Moon. Another book I this channel probably wouldn't exist without Empire of the Summer Moon. It is, yeah, it's an egg, but this is the excerpt that S.E. Gwynn takes for that book. I got it directly from 9 Years with the Indians. It is, oh, it's not linked at the top of the chat now. Oh, okay, hold on. Let me link it. No, it's pinned at the top. Okay, it's pinned at the top of the chat. But guys, it's, I think 99 cents on the Kindle. It's a mandatory. You got to have it. If this is your bag, right? You like Old West history. If you like history at all, this is your thing. You will love this book. Hey, Jake Skywalker, $2 super chat. Thank you, sir. Very much appreciated. Thank you, man. And OG, thank you, sir. Red Corn. Oh, great. Okay, engineer. This is very helpful. Red Corn self-identified as an Anasazi. Oh, that's true. He did at some point. And they got charred skulls thing going on. Okay, you are jogging my memory. I don't remember the episode or season, but he did, didn't he refer? I think he did refer to himself as Anasazi at some point. I think you're right, man. Thank you. I know a real John Redcorn. He's Osage. Really? You know a real John Redcorn, Indian Wildcat? I don't doubt you, man. I got a tick embedded in my back driving me crazy. I can't get to it. You got to get to it, Bama Deanna. Don't smash it. You got to get it off. You know what to do. I had some trouble with my car lately. Can't resubscribe until payday. So, I'll resubscribe tomorrow. Don't worry about it, Surrender Monkey. Your support is enough, my friend. Thank you so much, man. We all get it. I mean, over here in the US, we ain't having a good time either, dog. So everybody's making every penny last. Some accounts I've read say that each tribe had their own particular war cry. I think I've read that too, and I wonder if it's like regional. You know what I mean? Because yes, they would have their own war cry, but I really can't imagine the Kiowa's war cry being that different from the Comanche, or that different from the Cheyenne, or the Cheyennes being that different from the Blackfoot. I could see their war cries being way different than the Modoc, but I don't know. I wish we had recordings of them. And you'd see that in Confederacy. A lot of times the Confederate units, they talk about this with the Confederate units in Texas. They didn't really know what a Confederate war cry was like. They just kind of read about it. The guys in Mississippi and Georgia had come up with that. And so they were just kind of doing their best imitation of what they'd read it was like. Let's see. John Redcorn was from the Servicedale's Wife Club. True. There's a lot of lore behind King of the Hill. Some people feel like Dale knew the whole time. There's a lot going on, man. Bill might be Bobby's real dad. If you look at it, Bobby looks a lot like Bill. And why is Peggy so disgusted by Bill all the time? And maybe Dale's just torturing Nancy and John Redcorn because he knows that Joseph is his kid. There's lots of stuff, lots of lore behind King of the Hill. Eating meat brings your vibration down. There's a lot of Orthodox, all Orthodox monks are vegan, I believe, definitely vegetarian. So Orthodox kind of vibe with that. I tried every diet, vegan included. I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian right now, 2 days a week, because that's the fasting schedule. I don't know, I'm trying, doing my best. But yeah, I don't know, there's something to that. I'm a meat eater, but there's some very based and grounded theological thinking in that. I don't buy pork at all. I'm eating a lot less meat these days. I don't like pork. Ever since that pork human meat comparison, I've been I eat a lot of steak. Yeah, I eat mostly beef. I like beef, man. Catching up here. I got another 5-10 minutes maybe. Chaotic night. Promised I was late. I know, sorry about that. And I promised to ride to my buddy. It's a crazy Austin night. No rounds of champagne tonight. My video leveled off. Oh, you actually had a short go to 238K. Bro, I've never had a short go to 238K. If you're not subscribed to Engineer Hickory Stripe Hat channel, go check him out. We got to get that. We got to get him to 250K. That's huge, dude. 250K. My shorts go to, I don't know, 2 to 5K, 1 to 5K, somewhere in there. But we're building it, man. They're gonna get there. Before pour Pepsi over pork before you cook it, and you can watch worms crawl out of it. No, I'm good. I just no, thank you. Bama, you know some crazy stuff. Let's see. Surrender says it's not the money. I lost my card. Oh, you lost your card. I thought you were saying you had car trouble. I got it. Fair enough, man. Changing every app and service. Oh, dude. Okay. That's almost worse. Oh man, no problem at all, man. Just glad to see you here. I don't think the war cries could be that different, but Southern and Northern Plains tribes have different pitches. Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. I do wish we had them recorded though, and then you can imagine hearing hundreds of them at once. Like that is crazy. That's like one of the craziest things that's ever happened. Let's see, eating meat brings down your vibration. Yeah. I mean, like, there's something to that. I'm not arguing that. Ticks bring down your vibration too, though. So make sure you get that taken care of, you know. Okay. Let's see. I'm just kind of trying to make sure I got everybody. Again, if I didn't see your chat, just put it back in now and I will catch it before I bail. Let's see. It's an old San Diego term. My friends in San Diego used to say, like, all right, guys, got to bail. I've never heard that before. They'd say bailids. We got to bail. It's bail sesh. Bail sesh. It's more endearing. It sounds obnoxious now, but it was very endearing at the time. Bail sesh. I'm a Yuki. It's like a turkey gobble. Nice. I like that. You know what's cool too is those like Germanic war horns that the Romans heard, like that. Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. Mongol throat singing, pretty cool. Let's see. Have you guys heard that Mongol metal band where like it's a couple years old now, but it's like and they have like metal riffs come over? It's pretty cool. Use deodorant on tick bites for the itch, not antiperspirant, just deodorant. Really? I've been lucky with ticks so far. I've been lucky. I'm very paranoid about them though. So I do a lot of trail running. So like I'm always checking for the ticks and chiggers. Chiggers. Okay. That's the name. I'm just saying what the name is. I think I'm caught up. Roman legions would blow horns too. Yeah, there's a lot of like cultural adoptions in the Roman Empire, especially towards the end of the Western Roman Empire. Dan Carlin has a great series on that called, what's it called now? It's been years since I listened to it, but it's about like the youth in Rome adopting the dress of a lot of the barbarians. They'd wear like tight pants. It's very like, they went like kind of emo. They went kind of emo because they thought it was cool. They wore like tight pants and like black shirts and like animal skins and stuff. And like their Roman parents were like, what are you wearing? They, well, you should wear a toga or whatever, you know? And they were like, no, we wear tight pants now. One reason I quit hunting for the most part, to be honest. Oh, the ticks. Okay, yeah. They've been very bad. A lot of people think ticks are a government psyop, government plot, whatever, operation. Have you ever considered going to some of these battle sites like Enchanted Rock and doing a stream? Yes, man. I keep saying I'm going to do that. And the only thing that's really holding me up is getting caught up here. But yeah, man, I live like 40 minutes from Plum Creek, an hour from Enchanted Rock. I live like 10 minutes from several of these places we talk about. If you've listened to watched our episode on the Austin ambush, I live like 10 minutes from that. I was just there in that area today. I just need to do it. Insurance agencies have released the ticks and coyotes. Yeah, I mean, maybe, dude. That makes some sense because there's more ticks and coyotes than ever. More white-tailed deer, too. More hogs, more pigs for sure. Oh, my God, there's a lot of pigs. First cases, I knew somebody in this chat was going to pick up on what I was trying to say. First cases of Lyme disease have all clustered around a research facility. Just saying. I'm not even I'm just like putting this out there, right? Like the famous thing, I'm just asking questions. Okay, but it is worth asking. It's worth looking at. Mosquitoes don't bite me, but the ticks make up for it. Yeah, I've been lucky with mosquito bites too. Fingers crossed. Oh wow, feel wise, man. $20 super chat. Wow, thank you, sir. Cash for the drive. Oh, count. Okay, man, we're gonna make it happen then. We're gonna make it happen. Thank you, man. I was just about to get out of here. I saw that. Thank you so much, sir. You guys, I can't even tell you how much I appreciate it. There's no such thing as a small super chat. I mean, I appreciate it so much. Everybody works hard for their money, and I really appreciate anybody chipping in. Listen, if people don't believe us conspiracy theorists after C19, I don't know what to tell y'all. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't either. I'd say that. I don't want to get in trouble with the YouTube overlords, but yeah, 100%. Doesn't mean you have to believe every conspiracy theory, but you should at least be more willing to listen than you were in 2016. Wow, Bama Deanna, $5. Man, you guys are so generous. Thank you so much. Catching me off guard here. Thank you very much. If you have any propaganda you want me to spread, let me know. And Theo Wise, yeah. All right, so let me mark this down here. I have a special live stream notebook now. Let's see. I'm going to do the Austin ambush site because that's really easy. Oh, I need to do Austin ambush. I can take you guys to Fort Colorado in Austin too. Fort Colorado, Plum Creek. I'm writing all these down. Plum Creek, Enchanted Rock. We've talked about going to the Magnolia Hotel before, but I got to be honest with you, it seems a little demonic. Seems a little I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't want to go into these haunted houses and there's some little kid spirit there apparently who kicks a ball around. It's I don't want that little kid following me home. I got enough problems. We just got done paying taxes. I saw on some Nat Geo doc that a specimen jar of a tick had been on a shelf for 120 years and it fell and broke and the tick came alive. It was dormant or something. That's crazy. Dude, I believe it at this point. It would not be the first. You guys ever heard of the Tuskegee experiments? Look that up and then tell me they wouldn't do that. I believe them all, but flat Earth, we will at another night. We will get into that. I am not a flat Earth absolutist, but I find it very, very interesting, very compelling, and I think many of the arguments made against it are condescending and often lowbrow, and they are worth having the conversation with. You could do a fundraiser stream or something to help a fund. Yeah, for sure. All right, let me put that down. Fundraiser stream. Because we don't have to raise a ton of money to go to these places, but yeah, it gets expensive for sure. Fundraiser for trips. But I would love to do that. I've always kind of wondered if you guys would be interested in that, but if I know ahead of time and we schedule it, let's do it. I've always thought well, that sounds like a good idea, but what if I get out there, you drive an hour or 2 hours and then nobody's there for the stream, but we'll make it work. The teleporting ship, you talking about the Philadelphia experiment? Oh, Mojo is talking about the Philadelphia experiment. Yeah, look into Philadelphia experiment, Tuskegee experiment. What else? I'm gonna give you guys too much homework. I'm not saying these things are real, but so is the Montauk Project. Yeah, the Montauk Project is basically Stranger Things. If you like the show Stranger Things, that's the Montauk Project. Project Monarch, Project Paperclip, obviously MK Ultra, Project Bluebeam is going to get. You guys see all these scientists going missing now? They're going to try to convince us that aliens are coming. Definitely look into Project Bluebeam. Even the Roman Empire knew the Earth was oval based on 17 miles line of sight vision. Listen, that's a conversation for a different night. And I play devil's advocate with that, right? I've listened to endless podcasts with the flat Earth guys. I used to host a podcast called All Damn Night, a music history podcast. And we ended up we would do occasional conspiracy episodes. And I did a 2-hour talk with Flat Earth Dave. You guys can YouTube Flat Earth Dave. That guy has every answer for everything. So very, very interesting guy to talk to. So I am well-versed enough to play devil's advocate. But tonight, we'll have to come back for another night. And it really gets people going. I'm like, I'm so always surprised by how riled up people get about that. The Einstein files, I think we all agree on that. Maybe it's because we don't agree on flat Earth. I don't know. But even the moon landing doesn't rile people up the way flat Earth does. Let's see. But yes, I would preface it. Anything I say about flat Earth, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Okay. I'm just trying to like foster the conversation. Truly, I really mean that. Let's say, okay. Redstone Arsenal. I don't know about Redstone Arsenal. Don't eat your neighbors. Yes, don't eat your neighbors. Okay, that's the Theo Wise. That's the message I'm going to pass on to you from you tonight for the super chat. Don't eat your neighbors. That's our message from Theo Wise, and we agree with him. We endorse that here. That's our official stance at HOKC. Don't eat your neighbors, guys. All right, 1 second. I'm gonna text my buddy. I'm gonna be 5 minutes late. It's just how it is. This is show business. You want to ride? Sometimes you got to wait a little bit. That's the way it is. Okay. 5 more minutes. All right, I'm having a good time. You know what I mean? Let's see. And 5 minutes late in Austin is still on time. Flat Earth is the one conspiracy I think they use to make people divisive, like a psyop for a conspiracy theorist. For sure, there's lots of those too. But yeah, it seems like Flat Earth really is kind of the limit for a lot of people. They test direct energy weapons at Fort Hood, just a few miles away. Yeah, DEW is another thing to look into. Look into direct energy weapons, deep underground military bases, DUMBs, DUMBs. Look into Redstone Arsenal. Okay, I'm going to write that down. Redstone Arsenal. Let's see. Flat Earth Clock app gives your location in real time, and if you look at the programming, it uses globe mechanics. Dave is a grifter. Yeah, all right. Like again, I'm not endorsing what Dave said. Just YouTube him. He's got a lot of interesting points, but I'm not entirely disagreeing with you, Surrender Monkey. He's a nice guy, though. It was an interesting conversation. It was a super interesting conversation. The first moon landing was not live. Yeah, we've talked about your stance on that, Bamadian, and I find it very interesting. Chemtrails. Oh, yeah, chemtrails for sure. I used to not buy chemtrails. Now I'm just like, what was I thinking? DARPA and HARP. Yeah, DARPA, DAARPA, and HARP, HAARP. Look into those. You won't believe the weather anymore. You really won't believe. Once you look all of these up, pretty much your whole paradigm should be shattered. Then, once you've been broken, you can be rebuilt. All right, so let's see. Live streams coming up. I realize we haven't gotten to the right stuff yet. We will be doing the right stuff movie night. We have a couple other movie nights to get to as well. Things have just been crazy with traveling and getting the regular shows done. But as my old coach said, shout out Coach Schneider, excuses are like buttholes. Everyone's got them and they all stink. So all that stuff is coming. We're going to get it done. We have the boxing stream coming up. We're going to do Dempsey versus Willard, a real kind of cap in to Old West history in a lot of ways. We have a compilation coming out, should be probably Tuesday, intertribal warfare. Just absolutely fascinating. I think you can't understand Old West history or American history without understanding intertribal warfare. We talked about it today, like the visceral hatred between the Tonkawa and the Comanche. It's like that didn't come out of nowhere. This whole continent was born of the native diaspora was shaped by intertribal conflicts, and it is brutal stuff. Some of the most brutal stories in the entire history of the Old West. So definitely check that out. That's going to be coming out soon, probably tomorrow or the day after. Then the Dade Massacre. It's going to be a creepy, brutal one, guys. I think you're going to really like it. It's we haven't been to Florida for a while, so we're jumping right into Central Florida in the middle of the pine barrens and the palmetto groves, and the Seminoles are not happy. They're not happy at all with all these broken treaties. Dade and his boys are sent on a impossible self-deletion mission. This is impossible. And they're kind of right. The Seminole ambush them and they unalive all of them. And it's a brutal story, a terrible, terrible story, and you guys are going to love it. I know it. So yeah, stay tuned. Lots of big stuff coming, especially this week is going to be, we got the pipeline full. Got more shorts coming your way, a couple live streams at least, the compilation, an episode, some more side stories. If you haven't seen our last side story, go check that one out. If we did it on, I believe, our last live stream. If the live streams are too long for you, which probably not if you've been here for like over an hour already, but if they are too long for you, we have the cut up versions of these stories on our side stories. So go check those out. These are all like just, I think, fantastic stories. It's always eaten at me that I haven't been able to fit them into a regular episode. So I'm like pumped that we're able to share these now. So yeah, let me know what else you guys, well, think about it. Let me know what you want to see on the next live stream. And yeah, stay tuned. Got lots of big stuff coming up. I'm gonna check the chats one more time so I'm not leaving anybody out. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, thank you, Jake, man. Thanks to everybody for coming out. You got to soak it in cider? I don't know what that means. But whatever Bama says, if Bama says soak it in cider, I'm gonna soak it in cider. When is the right stuff movie night? I don't know. I'm trying to get a hold of Guillermo so see like when he's going to be around for it. But let's slot it for the weekend. Every time I try to do it on a weeknight, it ends up not working well. Everyone's up way too late. I'm going to try to shift these to 7 p.m. It'd be 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to try to do them earlier. It's just I want to try and make it more available for more people. We just have people in the UK. We have people on the East Coast and the West Coast. So I'm trying to find a time that works for people. But I don't know. These late night streams have their own charm. I don't know. Now I'm just pontificating on this stream. But yeah, we're going to keep improving. We want every live stream to be better, every episode to be better. So stay tuned, guys. We got lots of big stuff coming, and I know you are going to like it. I'll make sure I don't have anybody left out here. Where's the great Nick Sweeney? I don't know, man. I'm kind of worried about Nick Sweeney. Hopefully he'll be here for the next one. Okay, I think I'm all caught up. So without further ado, I'm going to get out of here. I'm already a little bit late. But thank you to everyone who came out tonight. I really enjoyed sharing this story. And stay tuned for the compilation. Stay tuned for the episodes. Stay tuned for the shorts. Stay tuned for the upcoming live streams. It's all coming your way. Really excited for you guys to see it. And can't wait to see you all again. Have a good night. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.